Hello everybody, my name's Eman, and if you're new here, welcome to my YouTube channel. I have had the pleasure of making educational content and lectures for the past 2 years, and I have loved every bit of it. Of course, with time comes a lot of interesting lessons and feedback and growth. I read and I truly try to reply to every comment I get, and I notice your questions, I notice your suggestions, and I notice your requests, and they all mean a lot to me. Starting this channel, my efforts are very much directed to serving you and making sure that I can provide high quality resources and content with no expense to you, the viewer. And I will continue to keep it that way. There are no subscriptions on my channel and there won't be. Anything I make will be made for everyone. Now, on that note, I'm at the point where I'm looking at my YouTube channel and I'm feeling like some things could use a refresher. I would like to refresh, replan, and remake certain playlists for multiple reasons. One of those reasons is that I have been able to invest in a mic, so I'm not just using the screen record mic of my 4-year-old iPad. In addition, I've also played around with a little bit of editing, and I've learned a lot there as well. And lastly, I've kept an ongoing list of commonly asked questions on certain topics, which leads me to believe that there was a content gap that I did not satisfy, or I may have brushed past certain things I shouldn't have. A better thing on my part would be to always assume that I have an audience whose backgrounds are all different, and for me to be able to be as useful as possible, I should make sure that I am extremely thorough to the best of my abilities when I'm teaching different topics and when I'm working through different problems. With that being said, one of the first playlists that I will be remaking is my MCAT General Chemistry playlist. This is a playlist that I have had a lot of new ideas for, and I have actually sat down and completely replanned that playlist, and I have made all of the notes to accompany this new playlist. These are new notes, they're so much prettier, and I'm so excited to use them to teach these lessons. Now, the goal for the rest of this video is to break down how this new playlist will work, what it's based on, and what to expect from me. This playlist will be based off of the Kaplan MCAT General Chemistry book. In looking through that book and also spending time teaching its content, I've noticed that sometimes there are stark jumps from one topic to another. And I think that leads students to believe that maybe two topics seemingly have nothing in common or aren't so connected. And my hope in this playlist is to provide more of a story to the topics we cover so that it is clear how everything is indeed interrelated and connected, and hopefully that also impacts how well you remember the content. Second, there are a lot of problems that we are going to work through together. I will work through the problems that are sprinkled throughout each chapter, as well as the problem set that is associated with each chapter. Here is what's going to be different. What's going to be different is that I will be super detailed in working out every single problem. I will work through every little step, and in problems where we have to do a lot of math, we're going to work through all of the algebra together, and I'm going to also try to provide you with tips and tricks on how to do that math on the MCAT, since you will not be able to use a calculator. Here, I also want to say that we are going to work through some mathematically advanced problems that aren't in the MCAT style during lectures, just to help us solidify concepts, but most of the time I will make that distinction clear. Third, in this playlist, we're going to follow the order of the chapters as they are presented in the Kaplan book, and I'm going to title the videos accordingly so that they're easy to follow. This is very much similar to the original MCAT General Chemistry playlist, but a few things are going to change. The first video in this playlist is actually going to be titled Chapter 0, and it's going to provide some background information and a quick refresher of some important terms and concepts in case it's been a while since you've taken chemistry. And even if you have, it never hurts to make sure you remember the basics. Specifically, in that background information video, I'm going to go over units of measurement, temperature, classification of matter, subatomic particles, atomic mass versus atomic weight, and a little bit of stoichiometry. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go over all of the chapters and the topics that we're going to cover in this new playlist. But before I do that, 2 quick notes. First quick note, I have made, as you can see, all of the notes for all of the chapters already. I'm going to have those uploaded and ready to go for you in the Google Drive folder as soon as this video is uploaded. And I will link it in the description box below. In addition, if you don't want to download a PDF for each single chapter, I'm also going to have a PDF in that Google link of all the notes for all of the chapters compiled together. So you just have to download one PDF and it's going to have chapters 0 through 12, one after the other in that single PDF. All right. So feel free to choose which one you prefer. Do you prefer a separate PDF for each chapter, or would you rather have a compiled PDF with all of the chapters in one kind of booklet that you can use as you work through the playlist? As for transcripts will be up after I record a video. Obviously, I transcribe the lecture afterwards, and I try to do this myself after I record the video because I don't want to include any filler words or repetitions of definitions. Instead, I usually will try to format the transcript so it's exactly what I cover and say, just in a more readable form in case you don't want to watch the video, or in case you've watched the video but it's been a while and you might need a refresher. I will also try to share this compiled PDF of all the notes on my social medias like TikTok, maybe even on Reddit. So feel free to follow me on my social medias and help me spread the word if you would like. I'll add my social medias in the description box as well. The second quick note is if you feel like you need more information on a topic as we work through the playlist, please feel free to vocalize that nicely, of course. I'm happy to and planning on including smaller length videos throughout the playlist that aren't related to the specific chapters but might help reinforce certain topics when need be. I will also try to have one video at the end of this playlist where we go over all of the important equations we learned. And hopefully that will happen at, again, the end of the playlist. With that out of the way, let me tell you about each chapter just briefly so you know what to look forward to. Please note that a more in-depth breakdown of each chapter's objective is going to be provided at the beginning of every chapter, the beginning of every video for every chapter. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Chapter 0, like we said, is going to be background information. Chapter 1 will be on atomic structure, the electronic structure of atoms. Here, we're going to cover topics that are also going to reappear when we're actually studying for the physics section of the MCAT. Here, we're going to discuss electromagnetic radiation, the atomic spectrum of hydrogen, the Bohr model, the quantum mechanical model of the atom, quantum numbers, and electron configuration. The second chapter is going to be on the periodic table. Here, we're going to learn about the history of the periodic table and the different types of elements that we're going to see on the periodic table, like metals, nonmetals, and metalloids. In addition, we will go over periodic properties of elements, and here we're going to learn about atomic and ionic radii, ionization energy, electron affinity, and electronegativity. These terms are extremely important for us to master and learn. Finally, we're going to briefly go over the chemistry of groups, discussing alkali metals, alkaline earth metals, halogens, noble gases, and transition metals. Then, chapter 3 is going to be on bonding and chemical interactions. Here we're going to learn about both ionic and covalent bonding and how to tell whether a bond between two atoms is a covalent bond or an ionic bond. Further, we're going to go over the octet rule and formal charges. Before last, we go over intermolecular forces. This is super important. This is going to include a discussion on hydrogen bonds, dipole-dipole interactions, and London dispersion forces. Then, Chapter 4 is titled Compounds and Stoichiometry. Here we're going to learn about different types of chemical reactions. We're going to learn how to balance chemical equations, and also we're going to learn about the applications of stoichiometry. And here we're really focusing on learning limiting and excess reagents. Now, Chapter 5 and Chapter 6 are very straightforward chapters. Chapter 5 is on chemical kinetics, and here we're going to learn about chemical kinetics and reaction rates. And then Chapter 6 is about equilibrium, and here we're going to go over equilibrium. We're going to go over Le Chatelier's principle. Forgive my pronunciation of that. Then Chapter 7 is my favorite chapter, and this is going to be on thermochemistry. We're going to learn about the first law of thermodynamics, and we're going to discuss energy, enthalpy, entropy, and Gibbs free energy. Then Chapter 8 is titled Gases, and you guessed it, gases we shall talk about. We're going to learn about the ideal gas law, Dalton's law of partial pressures, Henry's law, and the kinetic molecular theory. We're also going to discuss here real gases and learn under which conditions we can make an ideal gas assumption. Chapter 9 is going to be focused on solutions. We're going to learn about aqueous solutions. We're going to learn about different units of concentration, solution equilibrii, and colligative properties. Then Chapter 10 is going to be on acids and bases. Here, we're going to start with different definitions of acids and bases before we start a conversation on their properties. We're going to discuss strong acids and bases, weak acids and bases, and salt formation. We're also going to go over titrations of strong acid with strong base, weak acid with strong base, strong acid with weak base, and weak acid with weak base. Last, we're also going to talk about buffer systems here. Then, Chapter 11 is going to be titled Oxidation and Reduction Reactions. So we're going to define these terms, we're going to learn how to assign oxidation numbers and balance redox reactions, and finally, we'll go over net ionic equations. And then last, but certainly not least, Chapter 12 is going to be on electrochemistry. Here, we're going to cover electrochemical cells, reduction potentials, and the electromotive force. With that, I hope that you are as excited as I am about this new playlist. MCAT grind is on, so good luck, happy studying, and have a beautiful, beautiful day, future doctors.